AFL Today's round 14 wrap is here. Lads, what did we talk about?
I think the Dogs are a serious chance to make top 4.
And I'm loving the tall forwards kicking loads of bags.
I absolutely love that. Check out AFL Today right now. Round 14 is done and dusted, and welcome back to the AFL Today Show, brought to you by Stockhead. I'm your host, Liam McAllion, also known as the Stats Guy. He's got a fresh hoodie, a fresh hat. Leo in the corner. How you going, mate?
I'm going great. My team won, and we all won this weekend, right, guys? Right?
Yeah.
Well, we had the bye, so...
Yeah, that's right.
Essendon definitely didn't have the bye, and North didn't win. We've also got Marcus Bazzano. Yeah, he doesn't want to talk about Essendon, but we will have to cover that game. How you going, Marcus?
Blocked it out my memory, but I don't have to talk about it. That's fine. I'm just going to sit here and listen to you guys say how good the green shoots are, maybe.
Oh, it's not in my run sheet.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. I wish we could, but maybe that's for next week. Make sure you subscribe to AFL Today as well on YouTube. 72% across the last 28 days are still not subscribed. So
Stats Guy with the stats.
But we need people to subscribe. It goes a long way. We're up to 7.22k subscribers, so we need to get it up. Follow us on X, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for more footy content all season long. Leave some comments. We actually read out some comments during the week, Leo.
Yes, we did. It's on the socials right now. So if you want to leave a comment, you might find yourself on our social.
Yeah.
My favourite comment was the Stats Guy looks short.
Because he is.
No, but there's no fact there at all. Look how tall I am. It's just great. Anyway, let's get into the round 14 results. Round 14 wrap, lads. Thursday night footy at Marvel Stadium. We're starting with St Kilda, Western Bulldogs. Whoa. St Kilda, 8 goals, 12, 60. Western Bulldogs, 20 goals, 12, 132. Leo, one of your second favourite teams. What happened there?
Yes, my second favourite team, the Western Bulldogs, as we all know.
The Saints, yeah.
Look, last time these two sides played, it was, 2 months ago, and it was a 71-point win to the Dogs. So the Dogs said, we'll do one better. Literally, 72-point win this time. So they just came out, and it was, honestly, if you just show me the game from 2 months ago and put that on Thursday night, I would have thought it was the exact same game. It was just the same game. We should take our rap from that and put it in this because it was the exact same game.
But Sam Darcy didn't get injured at least this time.
Yeah. He didn't get injured, but he just reminded everyone how scary he was. 19 disposals, 3 goals, 2. He's kicking, he probably needs a little bit of improvement for goal.
He has to get a lot of brain power from all the way up there in the clouds to his foot.
High altitude
sickness he can
really
get.
That's a long ball drop as well, by the way.
Yeah, it is. Speaking of tall players and high altitude, Rory Lobb, he was really good. 17 disposals, 6 intercept possessions, 9 marks. And I reckon he's been quite underrated for them. Jones has gone out, and going into the season, everyone thinks Jones is like the big number one guy, which he was, but Lobb has definitely taken over that mantle. So he was really good. And just in general, the Dogs were just a well-oiled machine. Whew. Everyone was playing their role. They had 13 different
13
goal scorers. Yeah, there we go.
Goal scorer involvements.
Goal score involvements. I actually want to chat, though, and I'll throw a question out here, but about their run home. So it includes 6 bottom half teams. 3 of them are in the bottom 4.
Ooh.
And they play Adelaide, Freo, and GWS all at Marvel. The hardest game is probably Brisbane at the Gabba, but as we can see, that's winnable. Giants and Melbourne have beaten Brisbane there.
Yeah.
They're currently 7 and 6. Lads, can they make the top 4? They're out of the 8, by the way. Can they make the top 4?
Yes.
I think they can.
Yes, they absolutely
We're
can.
aboard the doggy train here. Stats Guy's not looking convinced. He's thinking. He's mulling over there.
The likes of Adelaide, Freo, and GWS winning the most random games, they could lose 2 or 3 of them.
But it's at Marvel.
I know, but
I think GWS and Freo could beat the Dogs at Marvel.
This season, I got absolutely no clue. We can talk about some of the tips later. They could, but I agree with you. They probably should push for at least the top 6, but I don't know if top 4s might be pushing it yet.
They're 7 and 6, and those games are winnable.
Even with Darcy back, that just helps their team, their cog, their shape. It works even better.
I love that.
I'm glad you said cog.
Cog, yeah. In case you didn't hear anything else. No,
you hear what you want to hear.
It just works differently. And then that midfield is so talented, and they've just got so many, not A-grade players, but top-level B-grade players. We've got a lot of A-grade players as well, likes of Ed Richards, Liver, Bont.
Yep.
Kennedy has been unreal. He was great on the weekend, last Thursday night.
Yeah, you're not wrong. On the Saints, so we've got to touch on the Saints. Unfortunately, terrible performance, but I really, really loved Marcus Windhager's game.
Yeah.
Tagged the Bont, kept him to 14 disposals, but I really, really enjoyed the play where he did the chase down tackle in the second quarter. that he stayed involved. He won the free, stayed involved with the play because it was advantage, and then he got on the end of a lovely running goal.
Yep.
So, Windhager's one that as a Saints fan, you can go, yes, we've got one here.
Should he be tagging every single week? What do you reckon? Because
he is. He's been doing it.
Yeah, but I don't know if he's been doing the full-on tag that he did against Bond. I feel like that was a bit more intense.
He has done it on occasion.
And then he jumps in and out. I think he should be doing that every week because I know they still got smashed. But against some of the other teams, they could have got a few more wins, I reckon. Yeah.
Well, Bond, he finished with early double digits, didn't he? And a lot of those were 1-2 plays or handball receives from a free kick from the ruckman and just booting it long. A lot of the time didn't pay off.
Yep. Well, it's interesting you bring that up about Windhager. I think they do need to do that more, but he's got a great build. And I think he'll turn into an A-grade midfielder, I think.
A-grade?
I definitely think so. He's strong, he's powerful, probably just needs to work on his polish, as Clarko would say. He's polished.
He's polished, yeah.
But overall, I think that was a good sign for the Saints. But the young players are all right. I don't mind them. I think they're coming through all right, but at the end of the day, there just isn't enough elite talent for the Saints.
Yeah, not enough goal kickers as well. I think that's the big worry. Because Higgins is going to kick a couple of goals every week, and then you're like,
you can't rely on that if you have a good lockdown defender.
No, so yeah, fair call.
They were playing in the final series, 3 years ago, 3 years ago?
Yeah, 2023.
And you just have a look, those players are getting more experience, but they're also declining in a sense where St Kilda have gone downhill from 2-3 years ago.
Absolutely.
And you sort of have to question why.
Yeah. No, not wrong.
Absolutely.
All right, the Dogs' huge win on Thursday night. Let's get into Friday night footy at UTAS Stadium. Hawthorn versus Adelaide, the Bird Bowl. Hawthorn, 6 goals, 11, 47. Won against Adelaide, 5 goals, 14, 44. Marcus, what another crazy result. Leo was crapping his pants on Friday night.
Yep, how'd you know?
Yeah. And then he watched the footy, yeah. Too easy.
It was just a low-scoring Tasmanian scrappy affair, wasn't it? I think
Friday night footy in Tassie in June.
Yeah, when it was -2 or something at one point.
It just shows that you have to have the roof in Tasmania if they want to build that new stadium, because that's the difference between a game with a roof like on Thursday night and one without on Friday night.
That's part of footy. Footy is supposed to be in the winter. It's supposed to be cold. You don't need a roof. Did they play a full AFL game and everyone was fine?
Yes. The viewership, people don't want to watch
that's all right.
40 to 40.
Just kick straight
especially up. These two teams who are probably the teams with the most flair in the competition, you'd say,
definitely.
Inside forward 50. But it wasn't like that because they only kicked 11 goals combined from 111 inside 50s.
That is wild.
So both teams, Adelaide were going about 8% and Hawthorn about 11.
You never see those numbers.
I know.
That is, yeah.
There was a stage during the second and the third quarter where there were 13 consecutive behinds kicked by both sides.
Yeah.
That's not good. That's a bit sad.
It was sort of both sides trying their best impersonation to not win the game at that stage.
Yeah.
But it is a massive win for the Hawks. Heading into the bye.
Need the bye.
We posed the question a few weeks ago. We're like, look, Hawthorn have to win at least one of those last 2 games.
I think they needed to win both of them.
And they've gone and done that. So that leaves them in a great position post-bye. But, Adelaide will be kicking their teeth because they were made to roof for missed chances.
Yep.
Well, this year they've won a couple of close games. You go, because in the last couple of years, they always lose the close games. They've won a couple of close games. They've got the confidence. And then another close loss when they're trying to go for top 4, not even top 8. I think this year's not too bad because they look like they go all right for finals. Yep. But if it was a bit closer down the bottom of the top 8, then they'd be a bit worried. But they'll still be all right.
Because they should have lost to Brisbane, but then they got the taste of their own medicine by inaccurate kicking. Yeah, they kicked 1 goal 7 in that second half.
Yep.
And we talked about the Hawthorn recruits and the Brisbane tall forwards and how they'd cope, who would win that matchup.
Yep.
The tall forwards combined for 0-7 and
0-7.
That's Fogarty kicked 1 behind and then
Philthorpe kicked 3.
Philthorpe kicked 3 and Tex kicked 3 behinds. So you'd say that the Hawthorn recruits did their job, Leo.
Yeah, they did. I think, the Adelaide forwards had their chances to get on the scoreboard, which was evident with 0-7, but there were times where they were going inside 50 and in a one-on-one where, Philthorpe and these guys, Fogarty, have monstered opponents this season. As a Hawks fan watching, I felt a bit reassured that Barras and Battle were handling it because they did really well in the one-on-one contest, I thought.
Yep, absolutely.
For sure, 100%. But a positive sign for Adelaide, in particular, a player that is having a standout year. And I'm saying, I think we've talked about this before, but he's just proving his claim, Ben Keys this is, as a sneaky all-Australian shout in that forward line. He had 18 and 2 goals in a game where goals were hard to come by. I think the Crows only kicked 5 goals in the end, maybe 4 or 5 goals.
5-14. Stats guy said it at the start.
Oh, there you go. And
I couldn't even remember if I'm being honest.
and that takes Ben Key's tally to 25 for the season, and the only small forwards that he's behind is Jamie Elliott, who's on track for a record small forward campaign, and Jack Higgins.
And you never leave your house without your wallet, your phone, and your Ben Key.
And your Ben Key. How long has he been playing that joke for?
You should never make an all-Australian team with the same thinking as well.
Where does it wallet? What?
Think about it.
Nostraleo.
There's some hope core in that.
Okay.
get some.
Oh yeah, Leo does the edits on the socials, so maybe check out. He might do a hope core edit of himself,
probably. But Sam Berry, I thought the Sam Berry matchup with John Newcombe was a real interesting one. Sam Berry actually did a really good job on Newcombe.
Yeah, he's a good tackler, Sam Berry.
I think he kept Newcombe to, was it 5 in the first half?
Yeah, Newcombe had no impact.
And Newcombe had 15 disposals, but the difference was he did have one chance and he took it with both hands and he stood up.
Yep.
It's what good players do. And that was the difference in the end. Both had 15 disposals, but Newcombe kicked a goal, Berry kicked a point. And at the end of the day, you win by 3 points. They hit the front for the first time with their biggest lead halfway, which was 3 points, the winning margin. Just over halfway through that last quarter, and it's players like that step up and get the result.
A very good point, mate. Yeah, I rate that a lot.
The means between these two, they've always been close, and they have been again.
So it was Friday the 13th, and freaky things do happen on Friday the 13th. The last 3 meetings at Launceston between these sides have been exactly 3 points.
Yeah.
That is a bit weird.
A bit eerie,
so maybe next time they play against each other, we get on the exact margin bet. I reckon.
Yeah, I don't mind
3 points. Yeah.
This game, it came down to which side could stand up and take their chance. And in the end, it was Newcombe, wasn't it?
Yeah. At the end of the day, they got over the line, but it's night. Yeah, it's all right. But they got the job done, the Hawks. So happy days for the Hawks fans and Leo. All right, let's get into Saturday now at the Gabba. Brisbane, GWS. Brisbane, 13 goals, 1896. GWS, 17 goals, 5, much more accurate, 107. Lads, this was an old-fashioned shootout. There was ping-pong and it was goals galore. It was big forwards kicking bags. It felt like it was the 90s. Oh, it was beautiful.
It's played on a basketball court.
It was played on a basketball court. It was absolutely beautiful. You had Hogan with 6, Cadman with 5, Morris with 5, just goals galore. And it was a really, really fun game.
Yeah, I love that Cadman and Morris kick bags because it just shows that these are going to be 2 future stars in the game. Logan Morris, I think, has probably been a bit more consistent than Cadman, but Cadman's sort of breakout game. I reckon he's probably the best player on the ground.
Cadman was the best player. I think he had 19 disposals. I think
bunch of marks.
Yeah, Hogan and Cadman combined for 11 goals and 35 disposals, which is unbelievable.
I would like to know how many marks as well because it feels like they were just everywhere, like patrolling the airways.
On Cadman and Morris, actually, because they both kick 5, the 2 young guns. Who is going to have a better career? Just off
I love that question.
Yeah,
I love that.
I think Cadman.
I might quietly go Morris.
Yeah,
I think Morris.
I think Cadman has
Just go loud, mate. Go loud.
Logan Morris.
All right, that's good.
Sorry for the headphones users.
Apologies in advance. I just think Cadman has a greater ceiling.
He does, and it's good that he did have a good game and kick the bag in against a
very good side.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because a lot of people have questioned Aaron Cadman because he hasn't delivered what we'd all hoped so far. But we're showing glimpses, we're showing signs, and it's great.
Yeah. On that, they kicked a lot of goals after Jack Payne went down. I don't know if you lads saw this. So Jack Payne, a serious knee injury. They had to put Eric Hipwood back. That's just not ideal.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they did. So not ideal at all for the Lions having to do that because they obviously want Hipwood kicking goals. And they did kick a couple of goals before that, but they kicked a lot more when Hipwood was playing down there.
Tsunami got rolling.
Because obviously Jack Payne's a really good, solid defender. So that did help a bit, and that's brutal for Payne. I'm pretty sure he's had a few bad injuries. He came back this year from a big one as well, didn't he? Or last year?
I think it was last year.
Yeah,
I can't quite remember.
Feel for him because he's a really good player for them. But the Giants' orange tsunami looked back. I think one of you guys talked about during the week. Their offense hasn't been clicking. They should be scoring 100 points. They've got 107, and the quick ball movement was absolutely awesome. They started the game with 8 goals 0. So the accurate kicking, and Brisbane had, what do they have, 13 goals, 18. That's been the difference in a few Brisbane games, a few Melbourne games.
It's a difference in a lot of games this season.
Yeah.
Efficiency.
Yeah. And then we talk about all the time, back in the day, was it more accurate kicking? It's literally so important because if they didn't kick straight, no way they were going to win that game because they got 107 points, 17 goals, 5, absolutely beautiful. McCluggage, I thought he was one of the best for Brisbane, 25 disposals and a goal. Is he in the All-Australian as well, lads?
Yeah.
He's a lock?
For me, yes.
Lock, yeah. Whitfield, I thought was like a Rolls Royce. He was awesome in Supercoach, 33 disposals. But on a bit more of a negative note, the forwards for Brisbane got a lift. Charlie Cameron, 0 goals, 1 and 5 disposals. And I feel like we've had that exact stat line for him about 4 or 5 times this year. I know he's getting older, but you just got to kick at least one goal. That's his job, I think. As a small forward, you got to kick at least one goal, help your team out. And then we got Zach Bailey. 1 goal, 13 disposals. Marcus, you called him on the Thursday show to lift, and he didn't.
And
It's a bit of a worry, yeah.
One thing that I majorly did call out about Zach Bailey was his pressure's going down, his 1%ers are down, his tackles are down, and I think you said before the show he only laid 3 tackles as well, which is 3 tackles, 13 disposals. Yes, 1 goal, 2. If he's more accurate, maybe we'll be saying something different, but still, Zach Bailey, he's such a talented player. We just want to see the best out of him.
Yeah, I think they've got the depth, but that type of guy that's sort of in their middle sort of range, if he plays well, then they win this game. So it's a bit of a worry for Zach Bailey. And lads, I want to finish on this one, and you can say if I'm going too far. Brisbane, I think, are frauds. I'm putting them in, you can check it out on the socials on the power rankings for round 14. I was going to put them in fraud watch or something around that, but they're frauds.
Yeah, go all in, mate.
I'm going all in. Why not? I don't usually do that. So they've only won 2 of their last 6 games. They had a draw with North in there. I can't remember that. Lost to Melbourne at the Gabba. They lost to GWS at the Gabba, who are in poor form. Do you agree? They frauds?
I agree, mate. Yeah. Oh. I mean, they're super. They were very good against Hawthorn. That was their best performance of the season. Yep. So we'll give them credit there. But Bombers got really close to them at the Gabba. And yeah, the Gabba isn't the fortress the last 6 weeks. So I think it's just something to watch. They need a big back half of the season.
Well, sort of, because they're still top 4, which is weird. But in terms of consistency,
if they're playing like this and they're top 4 at the end of the season, I still don't think they'll
genuine straight set chance.
Straight sets is a chance, or going out in a prelim. They just gotta. It's the eye test. It's the eye test.
It is the eye test. Yeah. Saturday at the MCG is the next one. We were all there. Essendon 8 goals, 8, 56. Geelong 23 goals, 13, 151. Yes, they scored 151 points. Now, Leo, Thursday show, we were actually talking about the Cats forwards kicking a big score. We were laughing at them possibly kicking 20 or more goals. They kicked 23 goals.
They just have so many options, don't they, when they go inside 50? If it's not Jezza, it's Neil. If it's not him, it's Dempsey, it's Stengel. They had 11 different goal scorers, so they shared the load, and Jezza snagged 6 of them. He was superb. What do we think he could get to this season?
Well, he's on track, Leo, for 80 goals this season, which would be the first time since 2009 that anyone's kicked 80 plus.
Who was that?
The Fevolution.
The Fevolution.
The Fev, he kicked 86 in 2009.
86.
So, which surprised me a bit. I thought in between that time we would have had an 80 plus. Obviously, we haven't had 100 in a long time.
Got close, haven't we, to 80?
Yeah, there's been a few 78,
High
79s.
70s, yeah.
I was surprised by that one, yeah.
Yeah, he was superb, Jezza. Neil got 4. I think he's been building nicely, Shannon Neil.
He has,
Just a sort of under Jezza's wing. I wonder if Jezza takes him out to the farm and goes, Shannon, this is what we're going to do to kick some goals, mate. I just want to know if he's ever
felt
done
that aura. It worked.
I didn't know that.
I don't know if that was aura if I do.
I didn't know if that Leo had a Jezza impression in him. That was good.
That was pretty. I don't know if it was good.
It was the perfect game for him to do it in. Good conditions against a undersized Essendon defence and against a debutant.
He had to do it, didn't he? Yeah.
This is the perfect game for him, and he delivered.
Yeah. In the midfield for Geelong, I thought Baz and Holmes were just way too much for the Bombers mids, just around the ground. So Baz got 41 disposals. So he saw Max Holmes get 40 last week. He's watching on the sidelines and says, I'm gonna outdo him. I'm gonna get 41.
Max Holmes said in the interview that Baz was on the bench and he's like, get me back on. He was thinking about Max Holmes' 40 last week. Yeah. So that means next week a lock is Max Holmes.
Tom Atkins for
42. Oh no, just Tom Max Holmes to
40 tackles. Tom Atkins. Holmes got 36 himself, so that was no disgrace either. He was superb. And the Bombers, like their midfield, and it has been for the whole season, has been really good at clearance and getting first use. It's a real strength of theirs, but their issue is they just can't convert that into scores, and they really struggle at either end of the ground to sort of put something solid together. And I just thought that, like around the ground, the run of Bailey Smith, the run of Max Holmes, got Humphreys out there. You can name a million guys, Myers, close, on the outside. It was just way too much for the Bombers around the ground, where they were just getting outworked and outrun all day, and it ends up being 100 points.
Yeah, well, not quite 95, but that's all right. That's
all right. Moral victory there.
That's a win. That's a win. We didn't lose by 1,000. That's fine.
Yeah.
No, but you're right. With particularly post quarter time, I thought the kicking from the Bombers just around the ground was atrocious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was a lot of the times where they were just hitting up Geelong players. There were no Essendon players within 5 meters,
Yeah.
and it was
It's
just
kind of like, what did you see with that pass? Like,
it was really disappointing because they started well, the Bombers, but and all as an Essendon fan, all we want to see is a bit of effort, a bit of fight, and just show us something. Unfortunately, some players showed us some signs, some youngsters, but there were others that just didn't, and we want to see efforts like we did against Brisbane.
And just one of those youngsters, just to end on, shout out, I thought Zach Johnson was really good for you. I think he had, 29 disposals.
Yeah.
Nice accumulator.
He is, and he was going at about 83%. I think.
Yeah, I
Off the
rate him.
dome.
I rate him. That was a huge win by the Cats at the MCG. Now let's have a quick break with Stockett. Hey Leo, quick question. Do you know what the ASX means?
Do you mean AFLX?
No, mate. The ASX, the Australian Stock Exchange.
Oh, man, I'm absolutely clueless with that stuff.
Well, lucky for you, Stockhead is a free website that gives you everything you need to know about punting stocks on the ASX.
Damn, that sounds pretty good. Where do I check them out?
Check it out via stockhead.com.au, and it's even easy for your little pea brain to understand.
Damn.
Saturday night at Optus Stadium is the next one. North Melbourne, 10 goals, 767. Agonisingly close for me as a North fan. Fremantle, 10 goals, 13, 73. We were at the pub watching this, lads. Everyone in the pub, except for a few Bombers fans, were going for the ruse. It just couldn't come back, but yeah, fair effort by Freo to just hold on.
You nearly did it.
Again, so close. So close, but again, just couldn't quite get over the line. But how good of a game of footy was that?
It was actually fun.
That was a great game of footy. When a lot of people thought Fremantle were just going to run over the top of the Roos, but the Roos were very good, especially without Charlie Comyn as well. Although we were talking about Josh Tracy, we had the Josh Tracy watch again. He didn't kick a goal again. After we were on Josh Tracy watch.
Should we just get on him when he's playing on Sam Taylor or something?
Yeah, maybe he plays better against
when he's playing on Tom Barras or something, he'll kick 8. He's a weird dude. Weird dude.
He is. But someone who relished that was Pat Voss. With no comment. The big man, the stiff man. He kicked 3 goals.
He's got aura.
He does. He does a little bit of Pat Voss.
There's not much going on up there, but it's aura.
Bit of Cole Palmer vibes. Just
a little bit,
I reckon he loves a few chippy chips.
Chippy chips.
For sure. But we talked about North Melbourne's effort, and it was really promising. It was really good. They actually were on top in a lot of the key metrics in the stats. They had plus 12 inside 50s, plus 4 clearances, and plus 3 contested possessions. And I thought someone who hasn't had a great year in LDU was superb. I thought Sheasel was unreal. We had 32 and a goal.
In the midfield. The corn was right.
The corn was right.
And similarly, on the other end of the stick, Caleb Sarong, he was great as well. He had 36 and a goal. But Frederick, who you wanted to keep an eye on, Frederick watched throughout the game. How'd he go, Liam?
Well, as a North fan, I was all right because he only had one tackle. He had 1 tackle, 1 behind, goals. And 8 disposals, no goals. And I thought he was going to kick at least 3. My big call was 4.
Yeah.
He's actually had a pretty good season, but he was nowhere to be seen on the weekend. That was very strange.
North got the matchup right, I reckon, on him.
Yeah. Well, the whole defense of North the last sort of couple of months has been really strong. We started the season, I don't reckon 120 was just on our heads every single week. And lately it's been 80 points or less, I think about 5 of the last 6. So pretty good effort.
But one of the most important metrics is the pressure, and the pressure inside 50. And Liam, you noticed that. We all noticed that when we were at the pub watching the game. It was great. You got to see that consistently now.
There was so many holding the balls, especially inside 50. So North led the tackles inside 50, 29-7. That's unreal. 29 tackles inside
12 a game, don't you?
Yeah.
Hawthorn laid 36 tackles a couple of weeks ago in the whole game, and this was just inside forward 50.
Thanks
that just shows how. That's okay. You still won. You won.
Yeah, your team at least can get the job done, but definitely my team can't.
Let's go.
But a bit. That's all.
Hey, hi over there.
Sorry, hey, hi.
Malfunctioning.
I didn't rock up today. This is just a hologram.
Do we need to oil you? Back
can you plug my USB and charge it back in?
The ruck matchup the ruck battle was one that we wanted to keep a close eye on because Luke Jackson's been one of the best in that ruck forward sort of roles. Although Darcy obviously played as well, but they combined for 30 hitouts, 22 disposals, and a goal. That was largely Jackson. I think he had 15 and a goal.
Yeah.
But Jerry held his own. Didn't quite hit the heights that he has this season, so I'd probably just edge it to the Freo duo in this one.
And
Two is better than one.
And Jackson also got the sealer. It was a really nice goal.
It was.
His fitness to run out a game like a ruck. Obviously, you got to be fit as a ruck, but he's elite.
Yeah, and it was like he collected the handball, and he's just so good on ground and in air. It was fantastic. But in the air was something that North Melbourne struggled with a little bit in terms of if you're comparing that to the West Coast game. They only had, I think, 4 contested marks. It was very low for North Melbourne, whereas Fremantle were in the early double digits. So, so when you just needed a big mark to slow the game down, Fremantle had that, and it was Josh Tracy at the end of the day who saved them in defence.
He did. He kicked it out in the full after that.
He did
take a nice mark. Yeah.
He did. So Fremantle get over the line in that one.
Yeah. Are we a bit worried about Freo? Like, they shouldn't be getting this close to North Melbourne. Come on.
I know, but there's something about North Melbourne at Optus Stadium and Freo.
I think North have been in like good form for
other than the West
what
Coast
they
game,
normally produce.
Yeah.
And, the way they came back, I think they can hold their heads up high.
Yep. No, I agree on that one. Sunday is the next one at the Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide, 14 goals, 9, 93. Melbourne, 9 goals, 14, 68. And we've got to talk about one man, lads. Georgiades, Mitch Georgiades, 7 goals, 4, career high. I think his career high before that was 5, I believe.
Yep.
7 goals, 4. He could have kicked 10. He was unbelievable. A marking masterclass. He was agile. He was great on the lead. He's playing on Stephen May. Maybe Max Gawn should get back into Stevie May.
Yeah, I think he should too. Stephen May's made to look like a right fool, hasn't he?
It should be like, you do the old, look at the scoreboard. Look at how he's kicking you.
If I was Georgiades, I would have been getting into him the whole game as well, saying, I kicked 7 on your head, mate. Why don't you worry about your performance in the team?
I agree. We were talking to producer Olivia before the show. I didn't think Georgiades had a 7 in him.
See, I did.
I think he's a very good player, but I reckon he's 4 or 5 was his max, which before this game it was. He could have kicked 10. He missed a few easy ones. There was a few hard ones as well, but 7 goals, 4. I did not think he had that in him. On Stephen May.
I rate him. I think he's
I think he's good, yeah.
Quality footballer, and I backed him in for a 7 one day. So
I honestly thought he'd struggle being the number 1 tall forward. Like, it's always going to him.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But he's proved us wrong, and he's quite some player.
Yeah, so that's a massive win for Port. You got Radaglia, who was really good. He's stepped up the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks.
Show him some love.
We've got to show him some love because he cops a lot of hate, Sav. 8 intercept marks, which was just awesome. That's exactly what he's been recruited there for, and he's really stepped up. The actual game was a really fun game, insanely fast-paced. You could see it in the last quarter.
Players were out on their feet, weren't they?
They were so tired in the last quarter. There was so many chase-down tackles. There was running bounces. Cozzy was kicking him from everywhere early. Cozzy, like against Jason Horne-Francis, was such a fun matchup. Jason Horne-Francis bursting out of the packs, Cozzy running down forward. But Cozzy, you got to lift in the second half. He only had 2 disposals in the second half after having 14 disposals in the first. And I think that was a major reason why Melbourne lost this, because they were in the game when Cozzy was playing well. Then he dropped off and they got smashed.
And maybe his contract ends after halftime.
Halftime, it was a post-contract.
After halftime when it's 9 years.
Every game he only plays halftime.
They gave him a pay increase, actually, from what he's already on after that first half. And then he's like, yep, done. And then,
that's very funny. We got Maxi Gawn as well. He was solid. I thought Visentini and Sweet actually did a really good job on him because his best career matchup across his career has been against Port. And Visentini, young, obviously, Sweet, not like the best ruckman in the comp, but they both actually did really well on him.
Yeah.
But because Gawney had to work for it, as these stats suggest, he had 20 contested possessions, Max Gawn. That's unbelievable.
I thought, Gawn was good, but I like the idea of double teaming because I think, just sort of, it means when your main ruckman has to rest, the pressure doesn't let up and the combative nature of ruck craft doesn't let up.
Yep. And I really like some of the fitness of the guys. Like Bergman was really solid. Bergman was really solid again. The Bergman. He had like 23 in a goal, which is perfect. He's had some intercept.
23.
He ended up with 23 when he was only on 15. He had a lot late. So that's why some of those guys, they get a lot of touches like Max Holmes, very fit. I think so
right out the games. Other players are...
Yeah, they're a bit tired. We were talking... Cozzy was very tired in the second half. But yeah, I thought... Awesome win for Port. Do they have to re-sign Ken because of it?
Well, I don't know what Ken did throughout that bye period because then they went to GBS. There was a plan and they nailed that to perfection. Came with that game with a win, and they obviously had a plan against Melbourne and Max Gawn and the likes of Stephen May. So I don't know what he's doing, but
Do we think Josh Carr's just sneakily took over already? And Ken's actually not behind the wheel.
Well, it's
got a weekend of Bernie situation.
What is it's like this? Just
Cut to
dangle
Ken
there.
and he's just like asleep in the coach's bunk. Ken, what do you reckon? I don't know, mate.
Go to Josh.
Ask Josh.
Ask Josh. And then for
So
Melbourne.
Josh is the Barbie to his Ken.
Oh.
I love that. This is why you're hired for everything.
Oh,
Great job.
Thank you, Pookie.
Oh my god, that's so weird.
Slay.
Well, no, we're not saying slay on this show.
just did.
What about Melbourne? That's a really bad loss for them. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, they should be
I
playing.
wouldn't say it's a really bad loss.
Port are like 14th, aren't they? 15th?
Well, it was 14th versus 15th going into the game.
Yeah.
But they are coming off the back of beating GWS Port Adelaide. At home as well. I think Port Adelaide Oval is a different beast to playing them in like away. But they're playing good footy.
I think it's just it's more just a disappointing result because they get so close to Collingwood. They've been playing some good football, like one of the form teams, and then the sort of way they fell away in that last quarter against the side. Like now their finals hopes are back on Port. Realistically, I don't think they'll make it, but they genuinely can make the 8. Like they could have done better, Melbourne, I think.
Yeah, I agree. They should have done better, but great win for Port, and Ken will be laughing. Sunday, Optus Stadium, the final game of the round. West Coast Carlton. West Coast, 7 goals, 10, 52. Carlton, 12 goals, 14, 86. Now, Leo, we talked about on the Thursday show, you specifically, about West Coast being up for it. What are your thoughts? It wasn't a smashing, but were they up for it? I don't think so.
No, they weren't. They had 2 weeks, obviously competitive against Geelong, but that got a bit carried away towards the end. And then agonising loss to North Melbourne last week when they did so much hard work. We questioned whether they could be up for it, and they just weren't. The Blues blitzed them from the get-go. It was set up by George Hewitt in the midfield, who's been fantastic this season. 35 disposals, 7 clearances. Look, I don't know what you read into meters gained. He didn't have a lot of meters gained, but I don't think that's his role in the team. His role is to give it to the guys who give the meters gained.
I'm still going, that's the most overrated stadium.
I agree with that.
Oh, I don't know if we've talked
I
about
don't
that.
really care too much.
Meters gained, who cares?
I would say Hewitt in that game had the most assisted meters gained.
Oh, a few handballs.
Is
Yeah,
that
we
a good
I
start?
think that should be a
Leo,
stat.
he's going to go back to champion data and go.
I'll
We
let
need
them
some
know,
assisted meters gained.
Assisted meters gained. And Fogarty up forward. We had him on the show at the start of the season. He kicked 3 goals in the first term. So he was very good. And they did have an injury though, Carlton. Big Charlie going down. What was it? Calf tightness, did they say?
Yeah.
So he got subbed out at half time. And McGovern's been playing a little bit more forward, but he had to step up and he did. He kicked 3 goals, which was good to see.
Yeah, well, that's going to be roaring because Kuno and Mackay both out now for Carlton. So
Ooh, that's not handy.
Well,
at
they
all.
do have some young kids showing signs.
Yeah.
Signs like the young bloke who played against the Bombers, McMahon.
McMahon?
Not McMahon.
Hudson O'Keefe.
Hudson O'Keefe, that's
I was
right,
thinking
yeah.
I
about
think
the
he got
Bulldogs
injured as well,
Carlton.
actually. So there you go. That throws it all over.
And
But Jackson
Binns was really
is one of
good.
those younger guys who did play really well. And I think McGovern, look, he was drafted as a forward. He's played forward, so he's no slouch up front. So I think he's a good second.
He played forward when he started his career at the Crows as well. didn't
Yeah,
he?
that's what I
he
mean,
was
yeah.
really good,
Yeah.
like back then as a forward. But I don't know if they can't rely on him every week. You're playing against the Eagles.
they
but
can't. You can maybe against North next week, potentially. We'll see.
Ooh,
We'll see.
we'll see.
For the Eagles, though, they just got outworked around the ground. Look, the clearance numbers and contested possession numbers don't look too bad on paper, but overall, if you watch the eye test, as I mentioned earlier in the show, they weren't passing that. I will give a big shout out to a debutant, Tom McCarthy. I don't know much about him. I didn't know much about him going into this game, but he was pick 1 in the mid-season draft from the Richmond VFL. 31 disposals, if you don't mind, on debut. How many debutants get 30 disposals?
Not
I'm a
many.
stats guy. I think of a stat.
Well, we were talking before that Harry Sheasel got 30
He
something.
has to make it
34,
North,
I
doesn't he?
think.
Well, I didn't.
34
Yeah, Marcus
on
told me that
debut.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
But-
I think that may have been against the Eagles.
Actually, it was.
As
It
well.
was. Yeah. But that's huge from top. Like to have a guy that's just come in from the middle of the season, doesn't even know your game plan. He was playing mainly in the back line, but he was clinical. He genuinely just tore it up. He took some intercept marks. He was giving good quick hands. He was really good accurate kick. I'll be loving it.
Well, what are they doing in the Richmond VFL? Because they lose a lot of good players.
Sam
What is it?
Davidson.
Yes.
last year
Yeah,
as well.
Mass was that the
Massimo, yeah.
Richmond VFL?
Was he?
Yeah, he was.
Sam Durham was playing Richmond VFL.
What are they doing?
And now Tom
It's
McCarthy.
it's the new footy factory, Richmond VFL.
Richmond VFL.
Richmond
Footy
VFL's
factory.
footy
That
factory.
is a wild stat.
And lastly, I just want to give a shout out to Harley Reid. He had a nice performance, 28 disposals and 5 clearances. So, Look, Eagles fans would be absolutely like head in hands again. Another terrible loss, but
Wasn't a smashing though. They came back in the second half.
They came back, but it meant nothing realistically.
Was that more just because Charlie went down and then maybe
foot off the gas. Oh, we're in sync. I love it.
Yeah, as usual. But yeah, Carlton, they'll take that win there as we're going to get into the ladder check in a sec. We get climb up the ladder. So that's very handy for them. Let's get into the ladder check right now. Obviously, the Cats are now into second, which is very handy for the...
Brisbane.
They've jumped Brisbane, which is a huge win for the Cats. Then you've got the Dogs. They had another massive win, but they're still out of the 8. We're talking about for top 4 over here, the guy on the end.
So they win and they're in the 8, and then we all go, Giants will lose to Brisbane. Nope, Giants will win and they stay above them.
The top 10 is just so weird to pick at the moment. Then you've got the Blues. They're obviously up to 10th, as I just mentioned. That's a lot better than you'd sort of suggest. And Carlton fans would be very excited about that. They're only 1 win outside the 8, I believe.
Yes, I think. Oh, maybe 2 actually.
Oh, sorry, 2 wins.
I think from 10th to 15th, I reckon all the teams in there are just taking turns every week of who wants to be 10th.
Yep.
Like it's a new team every week, and Port they jumped up a bit. We might see Sydney 10th next week. You might see Melbourne 10th, but where are Melbourne now?
The D's are in the bottom 4, lads.
They're just rotating these sides.
So the Saints and obviously, Sydney and a few other teams are around that, and then the D's as well. Bottom 4, not good enough for the D's. So that is the ladder check there. Let's get into some tipping results. Leo just reigned supreme this week.
That's
6.
What I do, mate. 6 out of 7. Who did I miss again?
Brisbane, and no one tipped Brisbane.
No one tipped again.
Marcus, what are you doing? 4.
I know, but 4 out of 7, it doesn't look that bad on paper.
But you tipped Adelaide and you tipped Melbourne and you're just dumb.
No, I did
apologise to the audience.
I'm not apologising.
Apologise.
Never.
Apologise.
Never. I apologise for Leo's behaviour on the show.
I agree with that one. I've gotten 5. I'm just a nice middle between you two, which I like to be in the middle.
You like to fence it.
Yeah. No, what? Okay. Let's get into the lock results. I finally got a lock.
Let's
go. Do we all? Oh, so I got the lock was Jezza 2+. Leo?
Port versus Melbourne under 175 points. It was like what'd they get? 93 and 68.
Yeah, no, it was under.
It was under.
And yours was voided.
Mine was void. I had Charlie Curnow for 2+.
But did he kick 2+?
He had 1 at halftime, so he was on track.
If he played another quarter and got subbed out, it would have been a cross. I think he didn't have. Only a half is not enough time.
I think a void is very fair.
That's fair.
With Marcus, because I'm also considering that could happen to me later this year, and I would like mercy as well.
No worries. Marcus doesn't usually show mercy. Big call results. Let's get into it. I'll start with mine because I'm on the camera here. Michael Frederick, 4+. 0-1. Didn't even know he played. 8 touches. You even said on the Thursday that it was a good big call.
I think it's a good big call. I don't think it was the worst big call of the week, though. I think mine was. I said Bontempelli 30 and 2.
Got tagged.
I forgot to consider the fact that Windhager is a very good tagger. I thought he could go to Richards or Libba, but he went to Bont and he got 14 and nothing.
Marcus was actually the closest by a mile.
This is a great call.
It was a great
2 weeks in a row I've gotten so close. I had Max Holmes for back-to-back 40+ disposals, but it was another cat.
You should have said Baz.
35+. I would have given you that as a big call.
No.
That's not
he averages
that's not
like
that big.
30 or 28 or something.
Not 35.
Well,
that's a
big
joke.
call.
I went for
Alright.
40 and he ended up with 36. So
that's a bit stiff. But you're getting better with the big calls.
Yeah,
I'm
good job,
going the other way. I'm going the other way. All right. This is the one that we like to argue about. But best on ground of the week. We're giving it to Leo. He's in the hat over there. The coach's hat or whatever you want to call it. Best on ground.
Coach's hat.
What are you thinking?
The best on ground, 1 vote, A. Cadman.
Oh, I like that.
With.
Yeah.
90 disposals, 13 marks, and 5 goals.
13 marks.
Coming of age performance from the Caddyshack man, whatever you want to call him.
Caddyshack man.
I didn't go Hogan because I feel like Hogan does that on the regular.
Yeah.
This is a great performance from Caddy.
I rate that.
In a game away from home. Well done, young man. 2 votes, M. Holmes. 36 disposals, 8 clearances. Was ranked the 15th best performance since 2012, according to Champion Data.
Oh, yeah. The little asterisk according to Champion.
I don't agree with that.
Why not?
2 votes, but go on.
He was superb. He was
Go
better
to
than
3.
Baz, I reckon.
I don't think he was the best Geelong player on the ground.
Jezza.
Probably Jezza or Shannon Neal.
Yeah, but Jezza does it on the regular.
Yeah.
Anyway, 3 votes.
Baz is pretty stiff. But anyway, 3 votes.
M. Georgiades.
Yeah.
7 goals. He kicked half of Port's score.
That's crazy.
Well, just slightly less, but let's just say half. 10 marks, and he just gave Stephen May an absolute bath. So well done, Mitchell.
Yeah, that's awesome by Georgiades. And for the power, full credit, best team of the round. Now, this is the one that the fans, Leo, everyone, this is always the most controversial part of the show, I reckon, because Marcus has to do it.
You said that about the best player.
No, I said that we argue about it, but this one's more controversial because Marcus does it.
No, I did. Oh, because I give one vote to a team that didn't win one
Have you
time.
done that this week? Have you put North in there?
No, I did.
about
Every
Adelaide?
team won.
What about Essendon?
Let him cook. Let him cook.
Let me cook. Okay, let me cook.
All right.
I'll go one vote to the Port Adelaide Power.
Yep.
I just think
Yeah, all right,
they worrying sign for them is not being able to back it up, but they backed it up, back-to-back victories over GWS and Melbourne, who are in very good form themselves. 2 votes. I'm going to go for the G-Cats.
Geelong.
Geelong Cats. Kicked 150 points. They
I
kicked
agree.
23 goals, multiple different goal kickers.
Yeah.
There was bags everywhere. It was just no one got injured. Well,
Can I play devil's advocate?
No, actually, someone did get injured.
DeConey.
DeConey got injured, didn't he?
Yeah.
Devil's advocate. They played your C grade side.
I know.
Well, could dogs? By that logic, dogs should be in there. Then.
I expected the Dogs to smash them. That's probably one of the
you didn't
strongest
expect
Dogs
Geelong.
teams.
You said Geelong were going to win by 1,000.
Yeah, I did say that.
So they only won by 100. So get them
But
the
I
worst
did
team
that,
around.
I did that purely because they kicked 150 points.
Okay.
151 to be exact.
All right, and who's the
Bit
3
more than
votes?
Dogs. 3 votes. Just has to be the GWS Giants.
Yeah, I
Over
agree with
Brisbane.
that 3 voter.
Getting the victory over
Best
Brisbane.
win of the round for mine.
Yeah, definitely the best win of the round. Leo wasn't happy because the Hawks went in there, but I don't think the Hawks played well.
I said I got to listen.
heard.
I said that I think I'd advocate more for Port.
Okay.
Because for those that don't know, a little peek behind the curtain, Marcus put the Dogs in at 1. And I just said maybe get Port in there. So that was my bit more advocate. What's my third favourite team?
For 2 things, don't let him get in your head.
I love Port.
It's your segment.
No, I helped him because
He helped me with mine.
He had Max Holmes the 3 votes.
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
Best player of the week.
Yeah, don't know about that.
Georgiades second with 7.
Yeah, that's a joke.
Max Holmes was ranked the 15th best performance in 2012, according to Champion Data.
Exactly, the last bit. It's champion data, even though you love champion data. Anyways, I'm calling it, boys. That's it for the AFL Today Show for the round 14 wrap. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe to AFL Today on YouTube and follow us on X, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for more footy content all season long. Subscribe, star, and like all of our podcast shows on your podcast apps. That's Cricket Today Show, AFL W Today, Hold All Tickets, True Bloods, Honest Beers, and Footy Form Guide. Thank you so much to Olivia behind the camera. Can we give a clap for Olivia? She
Yes.
was unbelievable
That's
tonight.
good for the audio.
Sick as a
that was
dog,
great.
but she's coming. She's still working.
Absolute trooper
Unbelievable.
behind the camera.
Trooper.
Thank you very much to Leo.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
There we go. Thanks, Mark Orza.
Thank you.
And thanks to all the fans out there, and we'll see you next time on AFL Today.